bad or indifferent.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. I'm coming to you on July 21st, 2021. Tim and I, Tim is on your right, is going to have a conversation today. We are going to have a conversation today on various topics. Our normal host is traveling, Jason. He'll probably report back the next time. So, our screaming eagle of freedom and the last word of liberty, myself, we will be talking today about a variety of topics. And the first one, and let's get right into them, the first one we want to talk about is censorship. It's a very troubling thing. It's an attack on the First Amendment, I believe. We spoke about this in our last show, but since the last show, some very troubling information, disturbing information have emerged. We have discovered that the White House is, people, I guess, White House personnel, are flagging what they call problematic posts and telling Facebook to take these things down. So what is essentially happening here? What essentially is happening is the government is censoring American citizens, not directly, but doing it through the big tech companies. This is pretty disturbing, and this is a direct attack on our First Amendment rights. So what does the Screaming Eagle of Freedom have to say about this?
Well, there goes that whole, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want argument. That's just gone out the window.
For sure.
Yeah. If they were really a private company that was worried about their own vested interests, they would tell the White House to go pound sand.
Yes.
And that they don't work for the White House.
Yes.
The White House works for them, if anything,
yes.
or works for all of us. When I say them, I mean inclusively.
Yeah.
So that's what they should do. My only worry, maybe it's not a worry. It's beyond that. It's caution is that they've been doing this all along. They've been working for the White House, maybe under wraps. Maybe it's just all out in the open now, as is typical. Things that are, especially things in violation of amendments, for example.
Yes.
So blatantly are usually kept under the radar. And now it's like, hey, look what we got away with during COVID. Why don't we just throw out that whole First Amendment nonsense
and just keep the good times going?
Yeah, keep the good times rolling, and let's not pretend that we have any consideration whatsoever of the First Amendment. Now, what does it take to to create some kind of a pushback? So you can have pushback from the other two branches. You could have pushback. Obviously, it's not coming from the private sector. They're not telling them to pound sand. So therefore, that leaves either the legislative branch, which they don't need to legislate anything. The legislation's already there in the name of the Constitution and the First Amendment.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, and it's all been politicized. So the Democrats are just gonna, if the Republicans, if Democrats came out and said, hey, this is nonsense, knock it off, that'd be one thing. And I suppose that is potential. I mean, there might be some Democrats with some principles left. I don't know. Not saying there's not, but aside from that, then Republicans, they would just get blamed for being partisan.
Sure.
So that's not going to work. The only other thing then would be the Supreme Court, but they have to see cases. I mean, there has to be a case where someone somehow I guess I guess they're not at this point. They're not throwing you in jail yet for passing disinformation. They're just blocking it, censoring it. So at this point, I don't know if there'll ever be any kind of a case that can possibly be brought up. Now, if you were prosecuted for saying the wrong thing and thrown in jail, now we have a First Amendment violation that would be easily seen at the Supreme Court level. But until then, I guess they're just going to have to do whatever little minor tyrannies that they want in each individual repression of somebody's so-called disinformation on Facebook or whatever, and wait and see see what happens. So I guess my only hope, as horrible as it sounds, is that some Democrat in the legislature comes up and says, are you guys Americans or are you guys a bunch of Nazis?
Oh no, North Koreans. They live in North Korea.
North Koreans. Are you guys North Koreans? What are you? You're sure not Americans. The Biden administration. They're not Americans, obviously, because Americans, last I checked, believe in the First Amendment and
of course.
Freedom of speech. At least the ones that I consider to be Americans.
I mean, you talk about the possibility of a case rising up to the Supreme Court. Donald Trump sued the big tech companies over the censorship issue, and people didn't give it much hope. But given the information that we have right now, I think this might bolster his case, because in a sense, Tim, I still want to believe in the free market, and I still want to believe in that another company could rise up and challenge the monopoly we see in big tech. But when the government is already involved, when the government is crossing paths with big tech, we are down the path to fascism. This is a problem I have. This is serious fascism we're talking about here, where the government is telling the private companies how to telling them to violate the rights of American citizens.
Correct.
This is a very, very serious problem.
And not only that, but they're picking out what areas to violate explicitly what things that that they're saying that they want not to be said or to be covered up.
Exactly. Yes. Because the Hunter Biden story was a pure cover-up. Because up to this day, the New York Post posted attempted to post this story prior to the election. Up to this day, no one has told us, or none of the big tech companies, all of them blocked it. None of them told us why that story was censored. They didn't say maybe it was inaccurate, maybe there was something wrong with the story. Up to this day, not a single thing that in that story have been proven false. But yet they blocked it. And they have blocked other things too. I mean, we see it all the time. Mostly on the right, I have to say. Mostly on the right. Most of their blocking so far have been benefiting Biden and company. So we have a problem here. I mean, a serious problem, and I hope we find some solution.
So just to be clear, you're saying that most of the blocking is been against conservative thought and favor of the Democrats, and especially the Bidens and so on.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything that, well, you could say anything that's outside the narrative of the left.
The 3x5 card of allowable opinion.
Yeah.
I stole that from Tom Woods, of course.
Okay.
In case anybody wonders, I steal all of my material from someone else. Okay? Well, I don't have anything. I'm an empty vessel, essentially.
Well, Tim, you're a good empty vessel. Okay, you articulate your stolen thoughts very well.
Maybe I'm just the victim of a good memory. I'm not sure.
Well, I think we could go to the next segment.
Yes.
So,
What
let's
are we?
go.
Oh, we're doing the
Good guys with guns. There we go.
There it
Okay.
is. There's our
Yeah.
banner.
Yeah,
All right,
banner,
good
yes.
guys. Well, thank you, Gail. That was right up there. Okay, today's good guy, or this week's good guy with guns, comes from Modesto. A woman was killed. God rest her soul, by the way. During a home invasion in Modesto, and what investigators are calling an act of self-defense. Sergeant Luke Schwartz of the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Office said detectives are currently investigating the home invasion, which happened around 8 p.m. Tuesday, June 29th, at a home in a rural part of Modesto with few homes and lots of farmland surrounding this home, apparently. So they were investigating this as of June 29th. So it's probably, they're done investigating probably. But anyway, this came out the following day. During the investigation, law enforcement learned a woman attempted, now the women are trying to break into your house. Okay. Well, free rights and all. Attempted to break into the home occupied by an elderly couple again, by smashing a sliding glass door with a fire extinguisher. The elderly couple called neighbors for help, then armed themselves with a firearm and told the woman to keep away. The homeowners continued to warn the woman, who kept trying to break into the home while threatening to kill the couple. I guess she wasn't there to put out a fire.
Okay.
The female homeowner then fired a single round that struck the intruder in the torso. The intruder then was able to get into one of the couple's parked cars and died inside, the sheriff's office said. Nobody residing at the home was injured during the attempted home invasion, and no arrests have been made, as law enforcement say early investigation points to this being an act of self-defense.
So we have a good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
Using it properly.
Yes, exactly. Once again, one of there's all various different numbers that come out. As many as anywhere between 100,000 and 300,000, or even in the millions. I've seen different numbers come out per year in the United States. I don't know. And of course, this includes defensive gun uses that may just be they had a gun and the person noticed they had a gun, or they pulled it out, the gun I'm talking about, and or maybe they shot at the bad guy and it missed, or they shot and it hit them but it did not kill them, or they shot and in this case it killed them and they went and dirtied up their car in the process of dying. But
I know you and I draw lines differently as to where we should use deadly force on our property. But in this case, you obviously believe that this was justified.
Yeah, I mean, breaking through your sliding glass door with a fire extinguisher and yelling you're going to kill the people inside. I don't know what prompts these people to do such craziness, but it's not an everyday occurrence. You're out there in the middle of nowhere in Modesto, or was it Modesto? Yeah, Modesto, and you're out there with neighbors far away, and you're all elderly. I'm assuming this woman is strong enough to break things with fire extinguishers, so she's probably strong enough to do serious bodily harm to you. So I mean, once she breaks in, if the glass maintained its, if she was unable to break in, then I would say, hold off, but once that glass is broken, and who knows what the investigating officers found, once again, you have carte blanche, and you have to defend yourself.
Indeed. I think we could both agree on that with no problem.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
Okay. Thank you for that, Tim.
Good segment. Yeah.
Okay. Next topic on the list was Texas Democrats flee their constitutional duty to protest election security law. So we have a bunch of Democrats in the state legislatures in Texas who decided to get on a plane, a private jet, sip in the air, fancy some light beer, I guess, without a mask in these COVID times. And they decide to flee the state because they wanted to deny the Republicans a quorum in the state legislature so that election security law could not come up for a vote, which it looks like it will certainly pass if it ever comes up for a vote. Do we have a country if we do not have election integrity, Tim? What do you think?
Well, yeah, we have a country. Part of me likes the idea that these people, shirk their legislative duty and go off and just shirk their duty, Yes. But part of me goes, hey, if you're elected to duke it out in the legislative process and, you think your side's going to lose, what are you going to do? Pick up your ball and, tell them, game's over, called on account of rain. We're not going to play with you mean bullies that are sure to win this game. We're just going to take our ball and go home. Okay, so that makes me wonder. Perhaps these people should not have been elected in the first place. That's what they're going to do. So that's what I think of that. Once again, I'm torn because
yes.
I like it when they don't, like when they go on vacation and never come back.
You never come back. They don't have time to screw up our lives any further.
Correct.
The one thing that I think that is not mentioned in this story that I think should be mentioned is the hypocrisy. If some Republicans, say in Illinois, where the Democrats are highly in control, decided to do this, do you think the media will be out there cheering them on, trying to tell them what a wonderful job they're doing? Really, Julie, do you think if Republicans did this, they will get the kind of welcome in Washington, D.C. that we are seeing that Schumer and Kamala and company are giving to them? Now it looked like Kamala may have been exposed to COVID. Well, she went to Walter Reed. I think she tested negative, but she was exposed. All these things. They're cheering them on. These are good people. These are patriots standing up for what I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's a legislative process.
Exactly. And the people that are telling them to come back are guilty of fugitive slave laws and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like now all of a sudden these legislatures are equivalent to slaves,
Well, don't give it away. We were going to talk about that in the in Knuckleheads. In Knuckleheads, we're going to talk about that. So all right. Anyway, let's touch on the next topic before we run out of time because we 21 will come in on Knuckleheads. The mission of the military. The question is, do we still have a country when we're seeing the military in its present condition? We are hearing about a lot of wokeness coming to the military. A lot of whistleblowers are coming forth and talking about some of the craziness, some of the crazy wokeness. I guess whiteness is a disease in there. It's
a disease of which you are not afflicted with.
Of course not, Tim. Of course not. But on a serious note, I do have white in me, to be honest, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It might be about I don't know, it might have been maybe on my mother's side, maybe 3 generations away, I think. I'm not sure.
It came out in your beard.
Yeah. but before we lose time at this step, so we have wokeness coming into the military. We are also seeing then some dissensions in the ranks. Yeah. General Mark Milley, I think is his name. He compared our commander-in-chief at the time, who was Donald Trump. Whatever you think of Donald Trump, good, bad, or indifferent, he was the commander-in-chief. Mark Milley, according to a book that's about to come out, think this man is comparable to Hitler, and some of his supporters are really brown shirts. This is what this man said. So that's within that's locally, that's within the United States. But abroad, we see in the military getting some adventures that they probably should not have gotten into, especially nation building. So what do you think about this? The military is supposed to be protecting our sovereignty. That is what their job is. They are to fight and win wars. Do you think this wokeness and this somewhat dissension that we are seeing, some of these military adventures abroad, do you think it is damaging us as a country? Do you think the military is losing its mission?
No, I think it's divisive, and I don't want to be in a foxhole with the guy next to me thinking that I'm just a racist for being white, and he's when nobody's looking, just like in Vietnam where they fragged different people for different reasons.
Sure.
Just murder me in cold blood right there, just because of what he was taught.
Yes.
Especially when the military is supposed to be teaching, how to fight and how to, all the numerous skills they're taught.
Sure.
How to lead, how to move in battle. I mean, they have all this stuff to learn. Much of it is learned from American Indians and all different types of people from all different types of races. When you learn, about if the person was a good leader, including Rommel, for example, or any number of other figures in history, if they had tactics that need to be emulated, they're going to teach them. It doesn't matter what their race is and all that. But now, this whole thing is extremely divisive, and it's just going to weaken the military, especially at a time when we're already weakened enough from these forays you're talking about. Here we are.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, it's important. I think we were left out of the civil rights movement that the content of our character should matter the most, not the color of our skin. Mm-hmm. And this divisive nonsense is really going to harm us and harm us bad.
Yeah.
So Knuckleheads Noise Patrol, you have the floor, Timothy.
Oh, well, can you give it the background real quick?
Yes.
You have it
okay. On the first one, we have Joy Reid, who is an anchor on MSNBC.
Joyless Joy
is trying to tell us that something about those Democrats who fled Texas and went to Washington D.C. So you can take it away. Go ahead.
Okay, so she compared them to the slaves that were being, and then I don't know, something about who's apprehending these so-called slaves.
Exactly.
Who's apprehending them?
Yes.
The Texas Republicans are saying, "Come on back." Is that it? They're asking if they would come back and duke it out in the legislature so they could have. Is that the problem?
Let me read the quote. Yeah. Let me read the quote from Joyless Joy Reid.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
Yes. I have to talk to you about this threat to have you all arrested. She was speaking to one of the representatives who ran away. To have you all arrested when you return to Texas and supposedly to track you down like the Fugitive Slave Act. Like if the Fugitive Slave Act is still in force now, Reid said to her guest, Representative Chris Turner, what do you make of these threats? Could you imagine that?
I would first of all ask what it was that the fugitive Democrats from Texas, what crime they committed. Now, there was apparently some crimes that actually were on the books. If you were a slave and you broke free illegally and left your master and went off to the north to try to escape.
Yes.
Okay. So, and who put those laws in the books? So some government did. Okay.
Of course.
Getting back to, so if anything, these people are behaving like governments that aren't putting laws on the books, even if it's a good law that may make voting more transparent or whatever. I don't know. I mean, they can duke it out in Texas if they would come back, but
sure.
No. So. They didn't commit a crime as far as I know. And so therefore, no one's going to hunt them down. No one's going to arrest them because number one, you'd have to be charged with a crime, number one. to be detained, right?
Yeah.
And last I checked, shirking your duties as a legislator in Texas was not a crime. Maybe dumb, and maybe
yeah, maybe dumb. It may
maybe
be
immoral.
political.
Yeah.
It may be political suicide, but it's not a crime.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay, let's quickly get to the next one.
Knucklehead. Yep.
Knucklehead number 2, and we call this one defunding insanity, because insanity really need to be defunded here. But this was the words of Nicole Hannah Jones, who is the founder of the 1619 Project.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which says that America was founded on slavery and blah 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 and all these other things and that kind of stuff. But this is what she said. She said Cuba has the least inequality between blacks and white people of any place really in the hemisphere. I mean the Caribbean. Most of the Caribbean, it's hard to count because the white population in lots of those countries is very, very small. They are countries run by black folks, but in places that are truly at least biracial countries, Cuba actually has the least inequality, and that's largely due, listen, that's largely due to socialism.
Yeah.
Which I am sure no one wants to hear. So
No,
what do you think? Is socialism this great, wonderful thing?
No, well, I have to agree with whoever this lady is, that
Nicole Hannah Jones.
Yeah, the lack of or the greater amount of equality is due to socialism, because everybody's equally miserable. Everybody's equally destitute. Yes. I guess now maybe compare how the blacks' lives are in those horrible countries run by blacks, the little island nations that exist throughout the Caribbean. Let's have a look at their standard of living and compare it to that of all the people in Cuba, black and white, because apparently Cuba's socialism has leveled the playing field just a little lower. I submit. Yes. Than everyone else's, especially considering they have they're still driving around in 1952 Buicks, and so yeah, I'm willing to have that discussion. I agree that it is because of socialism that everybody's equally miserable. I agree with that, and I want to compare to the other island nations with similar. I mean, it's hard to compare Cuba; it's huge, but with similar, even just similar locations. I'll take a, whatever one they want to pick out. I'll take it. Let's compare that.
Yeah. Quickly though, before we run out of time, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I agree with her. They have the least inequality, but for the wrong reason. Yeah. They have it because of socialism. And they have, like you said, everybody is equal, but everybody is equally miserable.
Except the guys on top. Boy, they are doing really well.
That's right, yes. So we have reached the end of our conversation, Tim and I. Tim, it's been great. Time to say goodbye. Stay free. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So we're only about 20 seconds overdue.
Okay. And you're still live. You're still showing live. You want to cut the plug there, pull the plug. You want to